Hey everybody, it's Tim with Broken Dice, bringing you my solo wargaming project number 2, turn 7. Archaic Greeks versus early Achaemenid Persians, 2,500 points, Clash of Empire rules by Great Escape Games. All right, here we are at the Command Initiative part of the game. Again, I want to reiterate that what I've done with my solo gaming is to use a suit of cards for each side and then deal them out so that we can have some sort of randomness to movement and allow the cards to dictate which side gets the initiative for that turn. Surprisingly, I have somehow either lost it, deleted it, moved it to the wrong file, but I can't find the photo for the card flip. But that being said, the Greeks won again, and that's in this game has went 7 turns, and I have given the Persian side die 3 extra cards. They get 1, I give them die 3 extra cards. They have, and sometimes they got 3. And in the last, I'd say 5 turns, the Greeks have won every time with just the 1 card. And I swear, I'm shuffling those cards up and I'm dealing them out randomly, and it amazes me. It really, really, really does. So let's move on. Greeks order phase of turn 7. Okay, we see here on the left the Greek slingers have moved into a position to fire upon these Persian cavalry. The rest of the Greek infantry, the one on the ongoing combat, obviously they're stuck in combat, they're not going to do anything. The other 3 units, the one, it's funny, the trailing unit now has finally got into the combat situation. They've charged the Sparabara to their front, and the other 2 Greek units to the left have just moved forward 1 movement rate, because when you're in phalanx you cannot march. All right, the Javelineers that have basically run the horse archers off the table for the Persians have returned to the battlefield. Javelineers' final position, you can tell by this tree from the last slide, they were back here a little bit, and then they've moved up to here. Greek shooting phase of turn 7. Greek slingers fire on the Persian cavalry and do 1 wound, but yeah, there's no morale test because they didn't do enough. Greek combat phase of turn 7. The Greek charging phalanx chargers always go first in the system, so the Greek phalanx goes first. They charge in, and on my handy dandy notes, yeah. So what happened here? This again is the vagaries of the dice. The Greeks, you think that charging in a phalanx, fighting in 2 ranks, long spears, there's it's a 7-man front, so they get 15 attacks. They had 7 hits. The Persians were able to save 5 of them. I thought that was hilarious, the way the dice rolled out, and they were only able to get 1 wound through on the charge. I just think it's funny. The Persians fighting back, they had 6 attacks. They hit 5 times. But because the Greeks have a 3-up save, they were able to save 4 of them, and the final one that got through did not cause a wound. So they win by 1. They've got a charge. They're closer to the army general. So they basically win by 3. So what you do is you roll 2 dice 6 and add that to the combat score of 3. You get an 11. You subtract the leadership, and then that will give you, their leadership is 8. And so basically I rolled 2 dice 6, it was 8, plus 3 is 11. So 11 minus the leadership, which was 8, gives us a 3 again. And then on the chart, that is a broken and flee move. Here you can see where they've broken and fled from the combat. They look fairly unscathed, but that's the vagaries of the dice. You know, that combat resolution really helped the Greeks out there, because of I thought that they were going to be hung up. I really did. Okay, now here's the ongoing combat on the Persian left and the Greek right. Since the combat ended in a draw last time, and no one has an advantage, like your hand-to-hand skill, if you have a higher hand-to-hand skill and in an ongoing combat, you would go first. Well, in this instance, everybody's got the same, so everybody strikes at the same time, because no one, there's a list of things that give you that advantage, and none of them apply here. And so everybody strikes at the same time. All right, so let's go through this. The Greeks have a 10-man front, so they'll have 21 attacks. Now, you have to remember that they're not in phalanx formation anymore. They're just guys with long spears, but they can still fight in 2 ranks. So they got 21 attacks, and because they're fighting 2 units, I split them up as evenly as possible. 10 again went against the cavalry. They had 4 hits. The cavalry saved 2, and 1 wound got through. Against the infantry, they had 11 attacks. 7 of them hit. They didn't save any, and 4 wounds went through. Okay, so here we have this. Now this is just the opposite, where the Persians are closer to their army general, who happens to be just off to the left here on the other side of this field. So in the return phase, the infantry had 17 attacks for the Persians. They hit 8 times. The Greeks saved 3, and the infantry did a whopping 5 wounds. 5 wounds to the phalanx. I thought here's where the dice rolling really got wonky. And the cavalry guys, they had like 5 attacks, 4 hits, 3, and the Greeks saved all of them. So that was nothing. And so we go to combat resolution, and cracks me up. Yeah. This is so funny. And the only reason the Greeks lost the combat was the proximity of the Persian general. So they only lose the combat by 1. So I roll an 11. So that makes it a 12 when you add the 1 combat resolution to it. And you subtract their leadership, which makes it a 5, which basically means the Greek infantry have now break and they flee. Greek outcome phase. Okay, here we go. The infantry unit, they pursued as well against the Greek infantry, and they were unable to catch them because they got hung up in this difficult terrain over here with this field. But the cavalry were able to catch them, destroy them, and pursue into the slingers that had moved over to shoot at this unit up here. Okay, this person loses combat, it flees from combat, and it's disrupted and it flees. Persian orders movement phase of turn 7. Okay, I think that last slide should have been this slide here, but that's okay. You get the gist of what's going on here. The fleeing Sparabara unit fails to rally. This unit that was positioned right here failed to rally, and it runs off the table. That causes this unit to take a test. Their leadership is 8. I roll a 9. That's kind of been the theme in this turn. I only need, I only fail at something by 1, but I always roll that 1 higher than what I need to stick around. And so this unit here, because it fails its test, and it's so close to the table edge, you actually flee 2 die 6 plus your movement rate, and they were so close they were already off the table. Okay, this medium cavalry unit that was shot on by the Greek slingers, they've charged the Greek slingers. So now these poor Greek slingers, they've got cavalry to their front and cavalry in their flank. It doesn't look good. The Persian general is going to move up this way to join the guard infantry. The Iranians have been held up by the difficult terrain as they pursued the Greek. Obviously, we talked about that earlier. And in the movement phase, the king moves up here to join these guard infantry. Persian combat phase. And no surprise there, the slingers lose that combat. Slingers flee and are run down by the Persian cavalry. Iranian spearmen, I didn't have a picture of that. I don't know why. Maybe I should have used this one, but they had actually turned in their movement phase to face the flank of the Greek line. And turn 7 comes to an end, and ending the solo wargaming project number 2. And you can see here on this picture on the right here, here's all the Greek cavalry. The Persian cavalry, excuse me. And here's all the Greek infantry. And little unit of Greek slingers right up at the top. I mean, slingers, javelineers. Okay. Game outcome and score. Well, if you're into that sort of thing. Okay, the way the game's scored, you've got, you get points for the units you destroy. Plus, each army has a breakpoint, which we went through a little bit of this in an earlier video, and that is where each unit is, you divide their total points by 10, rounding up, and then for the total of that is their what was that strategy? Let me make sure I get this right. Their army rating. So if you have 2,500 points, you divide it by 10. So your army rating would be like 250 points. And then what you do is you go through each unit and you divide them by 10 and rounding up. And then you would have a total there, and then that gives you your breakpoint. And so with each one of these armies, both of them came out to 250, and then with each unit it came down to like 125 points for breakpoints. So as you can tell here by this slide right here, that neither side got to their breakpoint. But the game was much closer than what I kind of assumed it would be. Now, there was some wonky dice rolling, but the Greeks scored 926 points. The Persians scored 811. I mean, that's a difference of 115 points. And, you know, when you look at it, what's left on the table for either side, the movement advantages for the Persians, the power advantages with the Greeks. So if we go turn 8 or something, a lot of it would just be maneuvering around, and there's a lot more table open to the Persian cavalry for movement, but there's not a whole lot of it left. And, you know, I think it was a good time to end it. It was fun. I like the game, the way it plays out. I think I'll do a quick little review in another video where I sit down and talk about each little section and what I like and what I don't like, and then I'll be done with this, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to start working on my Spanish troops and some terrain projects that have kind of been set off to the side while I've been working a lot and doing a lot of this solo wargaming project. Well, that's the end of this. I'm glad that some people stuck in, left some comments. I hope everybody likes it. I'm not promoting this rule system over any other system. Don't get me wrong. It was just what was sitting on my shelf, and I thought, you know what, this is a good time to break these guys out and just go through it, because I really hadn't. So don't think it is, you know, I'm preaching for this rule system over another rule system. Every rule system is probably, you know, to taste. You know, what do you like? And I will go over that in another video. Everyone be safe, enjoy your weekend, and I will see you next time.